5 people, I guess.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is David Wicks. I'm Vice President of Listings here at Nasdaq, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Bell. We're back from a crazy market yesterday to a great market today, and joining us is Jude Melville, who is the President and CEO of Business First Bancshares. Jude, welcome.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Glad I wasn't here yesterday.
I know. What a difference I said a day makes. So, Jude, you're here celebrating just your over 1 year anniversary of listing on Nasdaq.
Right.
And for our viewers, tell us a little bit about the bank and what Business First does and its mission.
So at Business First, David, we spent a lot of time thinking about small businesses, as the name would imply. And we believe that small business in America, which is really the driver of our economic engine, nonetheless is underappreciated and undervalued. And we think there's an opportunity to serve small businesses, their owners, their managers, the folks that work for small businesses. And so we try to gear our efforts and our priorities around small businesses. And we began the process about 15 years ago, raising our initial startup capital and getting our charter, and opened in Baton Rouge, Louisiana to begin with. And since then we've expanded all around the state of Louisiana and now into Dallas, Texas, which we're very excited about. We're really getting some critical mass, over 40,000 employees and $5 billion in credit invested in our communities over the past 5-6 years.
Yeah, and that's the point I was going to make, which you made today at the opening bell, is that $5 billion credit that you've extended. Right. Really, and it's such an important, the mission that you serve is so important for not only the community but the country, and commend you on that. Yeah. So, community banking, competitive, yes. When you think about your competition, what kind of differentiates you guys?
Yeah, definitely. In fact, more competitive than when we started. It's been a fascinating decade to see the changes. Partly because we've got fintechs that are in the mix too, right? So it used to just be community banks versus community banks versus big banks, and now it's community banks against just about everybody, it seems.
Yeah.
But it's still possible to add value in a way that some of those larger organizations, which have grown their bureaucracy and hierarchy over the years, which slows their decision-making process and their relationship orientation down. And versus the fintechs, the ability to have full service on the deposit side, the treasury management side, in addition to the credit side. So we feel like there's still a very important, valuable role for people in the community on the ground to play, helping spur on our local economy.
No, absolutely.
And I would say one of the things that kind of separates us is that, and you saw our group this morning, not just their enthusiasm, but also from an age standpoint, we're kind of the new guys on the block, even though it's been 15 years. Our board's age is about 10 years younger than the average, and our management's age is kind of in a sweet spot of young enough to be hungry and willing to work hard, but also experienced enough to know what the right thing to do is.
Absolutely. And I was on your website earlier, and you do have a lot of customer success stories and customers that you highlight. And it's kind of, I always hate asking this question, but I'm going to ask you anyway, because I think it's like having children. Which child do you like more? But tell me a favorite customer success story that you might have.
The group of customers that we serve is so diverse that it is very hard to.
And it's everything, right?
Really
so there's farmers, there's
farmers, and I also was thinking, there's female-owned companies too, which in America, probably even harder than small businesses is the access to capital for females.
Yep.
But in America today, 3/4 of the financial decisions that are made personally are done by females, and we see that over time that's probably going to end up being true in the business world as well.
Yeah.
And so I'm proud of some of the female companies that we've supported, and also we have an interest in serving not-for-profit companies, organizations. They're not usually called companies, but I'm proud of some of the churches that we've sponsored and some of the not-for-profits, and the ability to serve organizations versus just technically companies is something that we're proud of.
Sure. When we look at a performance of a bank, I mean, there's traditional measures that you look at, whether it's return on assets or book value or net income. What's maybe a not obvious metric that you kind of look at when you're measuring the performance of Business First?
Well, I've always felt that we were running at our optimal, or that we were making progress when our employees felt happy, felt confident, felt excited. And so I don't know that there's a numerical way to express that, but a lot of I believe my job is to provide a platform for good people to work, to find a fulfilling mission and to fulfill it. And so a lot of my feeling, kind of from an intuitive standpoint, is how my employees feel. And if your employees are confident and happy and engaged, then your client base is going to be happy and confident and engaged, and that's going to lead to your company making money. So really spend a lot of time thinking about how do our employees and our teammates feel about the job that we're doing. One of the neat things about community banking is that, and we were talking earlier, I was in the military before, and my father was a pastor, is a Methodist pastor, and so I've thought a lot about how do you feel good about what you do? How do you do well by doing good? And community banking is kind of one of the last bastions of being able to make a difference while doing well, working. And so the chance to offer that opportunity to our employees is what really gets me going every morning.
Yeah, and just having had the interaction with some of your employees, that passion and that enthusiasm definitely shows. So whatever you're doing, don't change it. Last question. Talk to me a little bit about, so you listed with Nasdaq April 9th of last year.
Right.
What is that? How has that helped, and what has that association meant for the bank?
By the way, I'd like to mention that we actually, before it was cool, we actually did a direct listing. So for any of your viewers that are interested in the mechanics of the stock market, we actually didn't do an IPO that day. We already had our capital base, but we came back and we listed, which was really an odd experience the first day, because nobody knew we were trading, right? We just listed, and so it took a little while to get the volume up and really feel like we were for real. The relationship has been great. A couple things. One is just credibility. When you have the imprint of a Nasdaq listing, then that helps obviously with M&A conversations, which we've done 3 M&A transactions now. But more importantly, it helps with employee recruitment. Once you get that imprint, then they believe that you're going to be around for a while and that you're doing the right things and investing in the future. And then, frankly, from a being able to take advantage of opportunities standpoint, having the Nasdaq listing helps me move so much faster. So we announced an acquisition after we listed, and in one day I was able to raise all the capital that we needed from my desk on the phone at home. And if we didn't have the Nasdaq partnership, then we might not have been able to consummate the transaction. So the ability to take advantage of opportunities is really what the relationship's all about for us.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. Jude, so we're going to take the corporate hat off and we're going to go to the lightning round.
Okay.
This is where you and I get in trouble. No, we're not going to get in trouble. I'm going to ask you some random questions.
All right.
They're not going to be hard, I promise. But just let our viewers know a little bit about you. I assume you have an iPhone or an Android device.
I have an iPhone.
What's your favorite app? What's your go-to app?
Well, that's an unexpected but good question. I'll tell you what's not my favorite app, which is interesting. What I feared that it would be, any app that lets me check the stock price every minute. I'm actually pretty good about not being obsessed about that. I get a lot of my news from Twitter, actually, and you have to be careful to kind of sort it out and put it in context. But I find that that's a very valuable source of getting information and views. So I would say Twitter's probably my most used app, next to fantasy baseball.
All right. Well, so I was going to say, when you're not working, where can we find you? Maybe on the weekends or?
Oh yeah, you can probably find me with my 2 daughters. I have and my wife. I have a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old, and definitely prioritize and enjoy being a dad. And so almost any time that I'm not working, I'm being a dad, and sometimes doing both simultaneously, right?
Absolutely.
So
time well spent. And last question, as you look back at your career, is there any advice that maybe a mentor or your dad or anyone has given you that really has kind of stuck with you and you've lived by?
Yeah, a couple. My grandfather, I remember, told me always go have a meeting at their place so you can leave if you want to. I'm not sure if that's really helped me in my career, but I thought it was interesting. I have had a number of mentors, particularly in the military, who talked a lot about the importance of diversity of experience and remembering that you need to be well-rounded. And I don't think that necessarily means jumping from job to job, but it means that within a company, try to get as much experience as you can, because ultimately when you're in a leadership position, having empathy with the folks that work for you in whatever position that might be is how you're going to be most successful as a leader. It's a long game, and so think about being well-rounded.
Yeah, that's great advice. Jude, thank you so much.
Thank you, Dave.
Congratulations on ringing today's opening bell. And for all of you watching, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Behind the Bell. Joining us again is Jude Melville, the president and CEO of Business First Bancshares. I'm David Wicks.